we are back with another daily reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We're in our 20-part series on the Bhagavad Gita, the world's most famous poem, this 2,500-year-old 30-minute conversation that you could take in not even an afternoon, like I said, less than an hour, but is so rich, so replete with these extremely deep and multifaceted themes that we covered the top 10 most discussed themes within the Gita. These are just really my opinion of the most discussed themes, but they should pretty much fit within pretty much any framework that discusses this text. We'll cover many of those top 10 themes. These next 10 episodes in this series are on the under-discussed themes that I believe are just as significant, equally significant as the other 10, but not often as discussed as the ones we've already gone over, but ones that I think are worth reinforcing and outlining, especially in this series, giving an overview of this timeless poem. And the first up on our under-discussed themes within the Gita is the value of questioning. Questions are sacred in Vedanta. Absolutely sacred. And that is in high contrast to many of us that might have grown up in a conventional Christian background. Questions, I heard a story from a friend a week ago that said she was taken to the principal's office at her private school, her Southern Baptist private school, for asking too many questions about the Gospels. This philosophy is only valuable if it passes through your own reason, if you can make the objective subjective, if you can make it yours and not just parrot some verses or some ideas that other people tell you to say, or repeat things in the exact order that you're told to repeat them. This philosophy has nothing to do with mindless or blind repetition of any verses, much less 2 PhDs in this philosophy might be completely irrelevant to really understanding it. Swami will talk often about scholars are more or less just as lost as anyone else when it comes to a philosophy, if they are just dialed into the facts, the chronology, being able to recite different verses or ideas at the drop of a hat can be very, very different than internalizing, reflecting, and experiencing what this philosophy is saying. And in this 30-minute conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, Arjuna is asking question after question after question. He's tapping into the wellspring of wisdom that is within Krishna, and this is something we should all exemplify and embody. Not nodding our heads, not blindly following anyone, but asking question after question after question until we can move from listening to reflection to experience. Because ultimately, without the experience, none of these are of any value. Hearing these concepts, including these episodes, are meaningless if you don't reflect on them. It's said within Vedanta that reflection is 100,000 times more powerful than listening. And experiencing is 100,000 times more powerful than reflection. And if you've ever picked up a sport, hobby, a craft that you got really good at, then you really know this intuitively, that hearing someone telling you about surfing, that's pretty meaningless unless you intend to become a surfer and you start to reflect on what someone's telling you, where the great waves are, how to pop up properly, the secrets of different spots. When you start to reflect on them, then that's even more powerful than just hearing it. But then experiencing, 5 feet to the left of this rock, that's where this wave comes in. And that's where you get a 300-meter ride. That experience is 100,000 times more powerful than listening intently or jotting down, okay, it's this wave, I don't want to be 5 feet from the rock. When you experience it, it is a difference in kind, not just a degree from reflecting or listening. And to experience these concepts, these ideals within this philosophy, to experience them requires an immense amount of reflection. And reflection is only as powerful as the questions put to the teacher, put to the philosophy, put to yourself. So within the Gita, especially the wider philosophy of Vedanta, questions are sacred. Arjuna becomes victorious because of his questions. And his enemy on the other side of the battle could have had as much time as he wanted with the exact same sage that Arjuna is getting all of this wisdom from. And yet Duryodhana, his adversary on the other side of the battle, asked no questions, felt like he knew it all, felt like he had it all figured out. And that overconfidence led to his downfall. Today's reflection is on the paramount nature of questioning. Swami will say often that the 3 practices within Vedanta are to question everything, to not take anything for granted, and to study and reflect daily. There's a reason practice number 1 is practice number 1, to question everything. We'll see you next time on the Daily Vedantic. Thanks for listening to the Daily Vedantic. This reflection is part of a free repeating 2-year course in Advaita Vedanta. Rooted in the timeless wisdom of the Upanishads, arguably the oldest philosophical texts on earth, you can begin with episode 1, which gives the 15-minute overview of the whole philosophy of Vedanta, or you can join the journey with any episode at any point. But the critical aspect of this course, of understanding and mastering anything, is to study and reflect, even for 10 to 15 minutes on the timeless each day, preferably at the start of your day. As is said in this philosophy, reflection is 100,000 times as powerful as listening. So listen, journal, sit with, discuss these concepts, or ask questions at thedailyvedantic.com with our AI-powered chatbot, informed by about 700 episodes here, as regularly as one can, if you want to see clarity and peace almost effortlessly unfold in your daily life. And if it doesn't result in a near immediate increase in clarity and peace, then toss aside and feel free to never listen again. One of the things that you might notice is after 7 or 8 days in a row, this doesn't feel like a discipline. This feels like a visit with a best friend, to dive into the timeless with daily reflection. Within a few days, it becomes one of your favorite parts of the day. You can also find out more, including news about in-person events in Los Angeles and beyond, at The Daily Vedantic on Instagram, or through our weekly newsletter at thedailyvedantic.com. Additionally, check out the links in our show notes for more resources like the books that are mentioned most frequently in the episodes, including Vedanta Treatise, perhaps the simplest and most straightforward read on this philosophy I've ever come across. Until next time, and from the entire team that works on the Daily Vedantic project, thanks for listening.